Do you want me to?
Just going to give the
Okay.
Got it. I'll get rid of that. I'll stop sharing.
Moment here. I'm going to call this public rule hearing to order. Hello and welcome to our public rule hearing on the proposed rule for Washington State Register entry 25-13-113 for what is also known as the fishing closure near Washington State Department of Transportation Ferry Terminals rule proposal. Thank you so much for joining us today, either in person or remotely for this rule hearing. My name is Scott Burr, and I serve as the agency, the Department of Fish and Wildlife's rules coordinator. And today's date is August the 5th, 2025, and the time is now 4:19 p.m. This meeting is being recorded, and the recording will be made available online or on our rule making page shortly after the meeting has concluded. I'd like to state for the record that the hearing officer that's presiding over our rule hearing today is Mr. Kurt Hughes, a fish manager with the Department of Fish and Wildlife Fish Program. This public hearing was noticed to the public on the what is known as the rule proposal CR-102 filed with the code revisor on June the 18th, 2025. We will have a presentation to brief the public, those attending, on the rule proposal itself, and then we'll take public comments from attendees. To date, the department has not received any, been notified of any individuals who have registered to submit their comments for this rule proposal. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and move right into the presentation. I want to introduce Lieutenant Eric Olson from Region 4 of the Department of Fish and Wildlife's Enforcement Program. And I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Olson for the presentation about the rule proposal.
Thank you very much. Give me a second. Why? Okay. Just like Scott, you said, this is referencing a proposed new addition, which would be WAC 220-305-085, closed areas for Washington Department of Transportation ferry terminals. And just like Mr. Bird said, my name is Eric Olson. I'm a lieutenant with Washington State Fish and Wildlife Police. Been a lieutenant or been a commissioned with Fish and Wildlife for 21 years. 7 years as a Marine officer out of Seattle, 11 years as a sergeant, and about 3 years as a lieutenant. Currently supervises sergeants in Region 4, which is King County north to the Canadian border. So this is a slide that kind of talks about all the problems we've had with fishing near Washington DOT ferry terminals. And starts off with the fact here that is rather astonishing that we have over 19 million people that crossed in 2024 using 21 ferries. And during that time period and over the years, we've had a lot of entanglements in propellers, on the hulls of these DOT ferries causing damage. Due to these encounters, they've had to periodically remove the ferries from service and put them in a dry dock or put divers down, which is very costly. And this fishing gear is largely for crab and shrimp pot gear, but also includes commercial purse seine and gill net fishing gear. These removals from service can be very inconvenient to the public and cost the taxpayer a significant amount of money. And we believe this can be avoided with, or at least diminished with this rule. Our proposed solution for this rule is if this would hopefully end up reducing both damage and service impacts. And the area that we're talking about is around these ferry terminals. There's 19, And these are rectangular shaped. And this would be for the Puget Sound and the San Juan Islands. And this would prohibit recreational crabbing and shrimping, as well as commercial crabbing, shrimping, gillnet, and purse seine fishing in these closure areas. Closure area would extend 100 yards either side from the end of each of these ferry terminals, as well as 400 yards straight into open water, with the exception of the Coupeville terminal, which would extend 800 yards into open water. And I have an example of why that is here later on in this presentation. The Washington Department of Transportation and Fish and Wildlife jointly support the adoption of this rule. And this proposed rule only applies to state-managed fisheries. This is the current emergency rule, which is the same rule as proposed for the permanent rule. WAC 22305, closed areas, DOT ferry terminals. It is unlawful for any vessel to engage in any recreational crabbing or shrimping or commercial crabbing, shrimping, gill netting, or purse seine fishing within a rectangular shaped closure area that extends 100 yards to either side of each end of any Washington State managed ferry terminal, extending 400 yards in a straight line into the water from the end of each terminal, except for the Coupeville ferry terminal, whose closure area shall extend 800 yards in a straight line into the water from the end of the terminal. In addition, the definition of a terminal in RCW 79-105-060, subsection 2.1, and for the purpose of this rule, the end of the terminal is the point of interchange where the ferry docks to load and unload passengers. It is unlawful for vessel operators engaged in fishing to violate the provisions of 33 CFR section 165.1301. For the recreational fisher, a violation of this section is an infraction punishable under RCW 77.15160. For commercial fishers, a violation of this section is a gross misdemeanor, 77.15.550. I know it's a mouthful, but I think it's important to actually read the proposed rule, permanent rule. So past efforts, because we spent a significant amount of time over the last 10 years that I know of trying to deter this activity. This has caused a lot of physical damage as well as danger to fishers. And the published notices, we provided a lot of guidance on websites. We know we've done news stories actually on ferries with officers there talking about not dropping your crab gear or shrimp gear in front of these ferry terminals. And we have both DOT and Fish and Wildlife have had a lack of success in getting that message to stick. Because people are still doing it. And the location affected by the proposed rule, there's 19 ferry terminals. These are just for DOT, Washington DOT ferry terminals, not smaller county ferry terminals and docks. And that map there shows where all the 19 are. And rationale, there's a significant of this is due to repair costs. If these are hauled out twice every 5 years in the planned propeller shaft seals, steering components, all these things, the buoys, they've come to find out almost every single one of these boats they pulled out has some type of entanglement from this gear around these propellers, these shafts. And that can cost, repair costs in July of 2022 for one vessel was $202,000. And it's significant cost here that if they have to do an emergency haul out, then the cost can range from $275,000 to $700,000, depending on the vessel class and also the extent of the damage. And they said the last emergency haul out in July 2024 cost actually $397,000 in 1 week of reduced customer service. So these are some pictures that Department of Transportation has provided to us, as well as some news article. This is a news article that came out in 2023 on Como, or a news broadcast on Como in 2023 that talked about this being a significant problem and having to put boats in for months in dry dock. And you can see the lead line there wrapped around some equipment there that goes down to the shaft for the propellers. This is some other damage here. You can see it just really gets entwined right in there. Sometimes they'll send divers down if they actually even know it's there, which may or may not be an option depending on how bad the damage is. And this talks a lot about the common failures and potential environmental risk. There's this in the next slide. There's about 6 points here, I believe, that talk about different equipment that's on these ferries that cause or get significantly damaged if they do get gear wrapped around them. And propeller fair waters and rope guards, propulsion shaft seals, propeller blade seals. Any of these that get some gear entangled in them eventually can cause some significant oil leaks. And these oil leaks is how, at the worst case scenario, how they find out that they have gear on their wrapped around these this equipment, and when they start losing this oil, which obviously cause not only a problem with the ferry but also environmental impacts. And that's when they have to eventually put these things up in dry dock. And here's some other ones: rudder bearing seals, rudder flaps, cathodic anodes. Those can get ripped off, the anodes, with this gear, in the same issues that we're talking about, referencing the bearings and seals breaking due to this gear and entanglements. Also, ferry worker safety. They've had some issues over the years with ferry workers being injured due to recreational or commercial fishing boats next to ferry terminals. And they've, launching boats to, disentangle some of this fishing gear has created other issues because they're not really trained. Some of these ferry workers to engage in some of this activity, but they gotta, get the ferry underway. So sometimes they have to take risks to do that, which has caused some injuries. Our efforts to educate and inform. I know myself, I actually went and met in 2025 in March, I believe, with the purse seiners and gill netters and gave them notice of the proposed rule. Also, we've consulted with the treaty tribes. They've raised no concerns, and also the gill netters and purse seiners raised no concerns. Closures were uploaded into Fish Washington app, which I think is extremely helpful. Public comment only generated one response so far. I think it's open till tomorrow night, but it's only generated one response, and that was in support of the rule. And then it was also sent out in the shrimp and crab opener notifications to the public. And then ongoing efforts by DOT Ferry Division. They've been trying to get out the word continually as well. So this is just a couple of snapshots from a phone from Fish Washington app that shows these at least two examples of that. It also talks about the Coupeville one, or shows the Coupeville one. And so that gives the reasoning as to why that's 800 as opposed to 400. 400 yards only gets you to the entrance of that channel there, not helping with the problem. So that's kind of a unique rule given the geography of that particular area. And then the one on the right is the Coleman Terminal. And so these are in the Fish Washington app. If you click in each of those boxes, it'll say it's closed to shrimping and crabbing. So anyway, summary and conclusions. This is just a recap. Cost and repairs: significant repair costs combined with chronic disruption to ferry service negatively impact the public. DOT worker safety and public safety. Both state employees and individual fishers are at risk of injury as ferries must navigate densely crowded. This requires officers to try to reduce the possibility of open water collisions. Environment damage to propellers due to the and the seals due to this entanglement. Which causes the oil to leak out, and then service impacts. Like I said, if these things are out of the water, It certainly impacts the service and is incredibly expensive over some time here. And that's it. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to stop sharing here.
Okay, it doesn't look like there's any questions or comments that have come in from the public. The comment period is still open, however. At this time, the public rule hearing has come to an end following Lieutenant Olson's presentation. The rule proposal as it's been presented and is listed in the rule publication document, the CR 102, posted on the website under WSR, Washington State Register number 25-13-113. That will go to the director for the director's decision about whether to adopt or not adopt the rule proposal. If the director decides to adopt the rule, the department will then file what is known as a rule adoption order, also known as a CR-103 document, with the code revisor and post this adoption order on its agency rules webpage. That concludes our rule hearing. Thank you for attending, and that's all. Thank you.